There is apparently a snippet coming from Dispatch that says they're talking about Jimin and JK. We also apparently have a moment where people are calling a romantic in-bed kissing moment, where we see Jimin and JK in bed. And then we have people scared that the show and many other BTS things will get banned in Korea. So hey Dumplings, it's Dave Desai. Let's get into it. If you're not aware, BTS and many other singers have been banned in several different places. This is not specifically just BTS, and it's not specifically just Western artists either. Every single artist that makes any type of music that has any sort of meaning, whether that be something of a sexual one or something that is a little bit more somber and sad, it can get banned. For example, BTS used to talk about things like depression and suicide, so those topics in Korea definitely would be banned. However, they sort of censored themselves and they insinuated those things rather than just straight out saying it, which then of course that would be okay. Of course, you would think that things like cursing and that sort of stuff would get your song banned, but in Korea, it's actually very easy to have a banned song. For example, if you're someone that often references brands, whether that's in a rap song or whatever, and you even just briefly say it as one of the lyrics, for example, a lot of rappers like to reference things like Gucci or higher end brands to make them seem more luxurious, and so those things in Korea are definitely not allowed. Now, if you're not aware of advertising in Korea, it is extremely different than here in America. And I think it's done with the point of looking out for the consumers. So this is like the Korean FTC, if you will. The regulation on commercials and just general promo is extremely strict. Advertisements don't play during a show, so when you're watching a drama or whatever it is, it's not like you'll get an ad break in between the show like you do here in the US. The ads just play before and after the show. This way it's not seen that the show endorses these commercials. Like when ads play on a video, people tend to think that the video the ad is playing on endorses that brand, when that's never true in the US either. Also, for younger people or people who are easily influenced, ads like this won't be able to influence them. Now, as you can see, there are a lot of issues with branding, and there's a lot of issues with censorship in Korea, especially with content that is easily influential. So a lot of people think that if the travel show Are You Sure ends up being a little bit more on the queer side, that it could get banned. And in Korea now, there have been several K-pop stars in Korea who have come out and thus have had their career ended. For example, the artist that comes to mind is Holland. However, with BTS knowing that, and they would definitely know that because a lot of their songs have been banned or censored a lot in the past, knowing that they definitely wouldn't push it too much towards that side, even if it was supposed to be on that side. So if it was supposed to be a queer show or whatever it was, then they still would more so insinuate it rather than actually show it. However, it's a bit too presumptuous to assume that that's what it's going to be, because we actually have no idea what it's going to be about. Of course, the rumors further circulate, as apparently a Dispatch segment allegedly wrote an article, and that article, there is a segment that talks about a specific thing about Jimin and JK. So the article is believed to be about the show, and it specifically mentions JK and Jimin showing off their romance to each other, specifically emphasizing something of the two not breaking their smile with each other even when they fall down. Of course, journalists don't just willy-nilly pick their words. They're very good with their words, and they're picking a specific word for a specific reason. And so this is the reason why a lot of people are a little sus, if you will, over the use of the word romanticism. Now I want to break this down and really talk about it, because if we're nitpicking specific words, then let's really nitpick it and actually discuss the meaning of those words. The first thing that we obviously have to keep in mind and remember is that the article is likely translated from Korean to English. So the word romanticism, or whatever the Korean word for that, would probably not mean the same thing that the word means in English. And it could imply the word chemistry, which I think if you did translate that word, it probably would mean something similar to romance. And I can see that. That, of course, makes a lot of sense. People are watching specifically for the characters' chemistry. If two people don't have chemistry together, friendship or not, it's not going to be an easy watch. It's going to be actually very cringe to watch. The second thing is that I personally couldn't find these specific articles. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It probably does exist, and I just missed it, and I'm being really stupid. But I personally couldn't find it, and likely the reason I assume is because the article is in Korean. And I don't know the exact words to type in Google if the article is in Korean. Now let's go back to what this insinuates and what people are saying specifically, since Dispatch was the one that used this word romanticism. Because Dispatch is this company that tends to leak dating rumors and expose who's actually dating and who isn't. And the bottom line is they've never leaked anything among BTS, and they've only hinted towards those things. And a lot of people are wondering if this was their way of confirming a rumor. Now, Dispatch, in my opinion, hasn't always been right, and I don't exactly know why that is, because in the past, they have predicted a dating rumor, and the actual celebrity has come out and said that it's not true. However, that could just be that the celebrity is denying it rather than than that actually being the truth, or the truth is that Dispatch got it wrong, right? It could be either or. But aside from all that, Dispatch is a tabloid or Korean tabloid paparazzi company, meaning their goal is to get conversation. It got a lot of people talking about the news story, and it is to publish shocking and very gossipy things. So they also want to get the most attention. So if they were to actually use this word in this context, they know that it's going to spark up conversation if the two members are dating. Now, I don't think that this is necessarily a bad thing. I think that this is just stories that get people talking, which is exactly what a news site aims to do. And at the end of the day, there is this huge debate about whether the two guys are dating anyway. So then this further pushes the question for people to look into it and actually discuss whether they believe it's true or not, if they care to do that. There was also this clip that came out where we see Jimin and JK lying on what appears to be a boat, out lying on the bed in front of the boat. People loved this. They thought it was super cute to see them together and lying together, and a lot of people thought this was romantic. People have brought up other clips in which Jimin and JK have slept in the same bed together, and of course we know what people are implying from this. That they sleep together, or that they are romantically involved, kissing or whatever. However, none of that is shown in the actual picture. That's all things that people have insinuated or assumed is happening. Personally, I don't like this assumption because it is assuming something that we aren't actually seeing, and so the assumption is coming from a place that isn't supported by any actual evidence. And then there have been people who have broken down this picture to analyze it even more, and I'm a little bothered by it. But I don't exactly know why, because it's not a crime, it's not a bad thing, it's actually not offensive or wouldn't hurt the boys, but to me it feels a little degrading. Like, for example, if I was in the position of the boys and I was being talked about, like what I'm about to say, I would feel like they are belittling or infantilizing me. So what am I talking about? Some people have brought up moments in which you can see JK when he goes to sleep, or when he sits on the floor, he is crossing his feet. So people think it's really cute that he has his habit and he continuously does this over and over again. And I think this is so weird. Of course, it's not weird to notice this. If you watch as much BTS content as I do, and I'm sure a lot of you do, you're going to notice these little habits that they have. I don't think that that is weird to notice. However, I think it's weird to point it out and to talk about it. And specifically to talk about it in a way where you're like, oh my God, he's such a cute little baby because he has this little habit that he does. Because it's not only something that I'm sure if you told him, he would be like, oh my God, you noticed that? And then he would potentially feel a little self-cautious about that. But then also, I think it's odd to praise him for something like that too, because it's such a normal thing to have a little habit like this, like to point it out and to really praise him. Like, it's odd to me. I don't know how else to explain it. I do want to clarify that this is just something that I think is weird. I don't care if you do that or if you notice these things and think it's cute or want to talk about it. Personally, if I was talked to in this way, I would not like it so much. So that's just my opinion on that. I don't actually know if JK cares or if any of the BTS members would care to be talked about like this. But the reason why it bothers me is because they're not little kids. They're not 4-year-olds. They're not even teenagers where you can be like, oh my God, they're so adorable. They're literally adults, and so if you think that they're hot, then just say that they're hot, and then that's it. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure people are going to disagree, and that's fine. Let me know what you think. Make sure to check out Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thanks, just leave a comment right here. Love you, bye.